Okay, well, I've abandoned GoPro because I hate GoPro. What I've been attempting to do here, and I'm hoping that I can sync all this up. Am I still recording? Yes. I just recorded this small little passage using Sibelius notation software. Okay. And music here to start on this downbeat. So what I'm going to do is highlight it from that clef down to the last note or rest on this clef. And I'm going to hit Command C to copy it. And then I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to go to the top clef. I don't know why I keep saying clef. It's a staff. Maybe it was 5 o'clock in the morning when I recorded this. It goes to the top staff, not clef. You can't paste it down here. Don't ask me why. Sibelius doesn't like that. But if you highlight that and then paste it up there, it now puts it on the downbeat. So now we're just listening and seeing what I can edit. I'm going to take it back to the beginning and just hit play. So let's make this a measure of 4/4, and let's make this a measure of 2/4. I just want to take from here to here and make this a measure of 4/4. What is the problem? Doesn't do it. So now I can take this, copy it, delete it. Gotta be a way to do this. Paste it there. Now we have a measure of 4/4, and then we don't need this 2/4 measure. We can delete it. So you hit delete. Now, certainly there's got to be an easier 3-step solution to this, not a 17-step solution like I just had to go through.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is da 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 da. I want to make this a dotted 8th, 16th, and have it fermata on this. This chord is meaningless. So if I make this an 8th dotted, so I'm just going to highlight this 16th note, hit a B flat, and then we don't need this. This chord is meaningless. But this is what's going to go in its place. So what I want to do is just change that to a quarter, change this to a quarter. Now highlight it, copy it, come over here, paste it. But I want it to simulate a half note and a quarter rest. But I don't want to do that with this measure. I'm going to delete this measure. How do we do that? How do I make this a half note and a quarter rest? Well, you come over here to the inspector. Okay, it's already open. And here's the right hand notes. I'm just activating the fermata, and I'm going to change it from 100, which equals a quarter note, to 200. That changes it to a half note. Do the same thing on the left hand. Activate the fermata. And in order for it to look correct, I come down here to the keypad, to the 4th keypad, and put a fermata now over. And I have to put a fermata over there because right now I'm in, if I go to the play tab, I'm in live playback. So it's actually playing what I played. And if I want the music to reflect what I played, I have to have it in live playback. Quick word about live playback and music, what it looks like. What I'm referring to is the way the music appears in the musical notation, sheet music. There's two things that you have to keep in mind. You have the audio portion of it, which is what you hear, and that's linear. And then there's the visual portion, what you actually see, what you read, the sheet music, the notes, the manuscript or notation. So when I say music, a lot of times I'm referring to the notation. If I don't want it to, and if I turn that off, it's just going to play what's written. And I want it to look the way it's written, the way it's sounding in live playback. Why? Because live playback captured all of the dynamics and articulations and the rubrato and all of the unmechanicalized, the human elements that of the performance when I recorded this. And I want to preserve that.
Yeah.
Now, how do I simulate a quarter rest? I have to put a gap in there. And that's what this little section is right here, gap. So this would probably be like an eighth rest. Let's just see what that looks like. Now, this should give us a half note. This should give us a half note with like an eighth rest before it begins on to this section. Let's see if it does it. Okay, so I'm just going to hit play and... So I still think that I'd like this to be a little longer. I like the quarter rest, so I'm going to make that a quarter rest. There was something else didn't seem right here. I want to see something. Yeah, this note here came too soon. I don't know if you heard it. Instead of it da 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 da, it went da da. It kind of anticipated. And if I look in the inspector over here, I'm going to look particularly to the live start position. You want this number as close to 0 as possible. That is simulating a quantized, perfect mechanical time. If it's an eighth note, 0 is right on the beat. If you imagine a big grid of lines, and you have your quarter notes, and then in between each of the quarter notes you have eighth notes, and in between each of the eighth notes you have 16th notes, and so forth. Each one of those divisions, in order for it to be absolute perfect, quantized exactly to each of those values, you want this start position to be 0. The fact that it's 6, or like, for example, if I go in this chord right here, okay, I highlighted all of them, so that's why it changed to just 2 dashes. But if I hit the first one, it's showing this as a 6. If I hit the next note in that chord, it's showing it as a 7. There's an 8. And it's showing the left hand is a 5. You want that. That's the human element. That's what gives it. But if I come here, I'm going to predict that this note is going to be a negative value. There it is, negative 12. Why did I say that? Because it came sooner than it should have. So in order to get this to sound a little bit more, less mechanic, because anything, once you get up over 10, minus 10 or plus 10 in either direction of that 0 quantized, it starts to get out of sync. Now, sometimes you want rubato, you want rallentando, you want these elements in the music where it's slowing down and you're ahead of the beat and behind the beat. That's fine, but this isn't one of them. This sounds like a mistake to me. Let's listen to it one more time. In fact, we're just going to highlight the right hand and listen. Yeah, it should be da da. I'd rather for it to be a little even. So if this is a 6, I'm going to make this a 6. And that's going to simulate exactly 2 zeros or 2 6s or 2 5s. It's going to kind of simulate within the human realm of this performance a corrected passage. Let's listen. There it is.
Well, there it is.
The other thing I'd like to try to do is, since this is a live performance, I could put in here and have it crescendo up and then have it decrescendo down. Now, right now, it's not going to do that. It's only going to do the dynamics that I did on the performance. And if we now look over here in the inspector at the velocities, these indicate how loud or soft I was playing these particular notes. 127 being the max note that you can achieve. So this is kind of like a piano. Okay, and why is this one doesn't have anything? Because this was the note that I added. I changed this from a quarter note to a dotted 8/16 because this chord is meaningless. So it has no values. So I'm going to activate its live velocity, and I'm going to just change this to 50 because it's close to what this was. Maybe this can be 60. And I know we're grabbing a hair and we're getting a razor knife and we're kind of splitting hairs here, but I'm just trying to demonstrate some basic Sibelius principles that I learned that I find beneficial, and I just want to share it with you guys. Okay, so how would I create a crescendo decrescendo in here? If I just come in here and hit H, that's going to create a hairpin, and I could put that in. And if I come over here and I hit Shift H and I pull this down, that would create a decrescendo. But it's still not going to do it because I'm in live playback. It's only going to do what I played.
So live playback is exactly what you played. The performance, the dynamics, the rubato, all of that. When you click that off, it just plays what's written on the page.
Now, if I take it off of live playback, it will do it, but I don't know what it's going to use as reference to because I don't have any dynamics put in yet. So it's just doing it all straight. Let's do this. I'm going to go to the first note and hit piano. I'm going to go to this note and hit forte. And then from this note, I'm going to go back to piano. And let's see if I take it out of live playback, which we are, if it does that.
Scusate, too brutal.
It kind of did it. I'm going to come here and I'm going to just check to see where my starting positions are. And forte. So, fair enough. From here to here, I want to create from the play, I want to transform the velocities and I want to create a crescendo. And I want it to start like around 40. And I want it to end not too loud, like maybe 70, no louder.
Okay, a quick word about hairpins. When you create a hairpin using the H or Shift H function, Sibelius automatically creates it as a difference of 10. What we're doing is a custom hairpin where we're putting in the value of difference that we want. In this case, we're going from 40 to 70. That's a 30 increment difference.
And then from here to here, I'm going to highlight all of that. I'm going to come back up here to transform. I'm going to create a decrescendo, and I'm just going to reverse these. Okay, we were at 70. I'm going to start this one at 70 and end this at 40. Hit OK. Now it should reflect what the dynamics are showing. And I think what I'd like to do and there's no reason that I would need to write this in. I mean, that's like, because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this note less than this note. But you don't write that in as a composer. I mean, it's going to be implied by the performer. You got to give your performers a little bit more credit.
However, when you're in live playback mode, you have to tell Sibelius everything. It doesn't know. It's your performer, so you have to tell it everything to do.
So I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to come here. And the easiest way to do this to make it all smooth is just to come transform, crescendo, and then instead of from 70, let's just start it from 60, and let's just take it a little softer, because that's the end of the first dot. Listening. This 16th note got lost, so it's a 39. I think I need to make this 49. Let's just see. Let's put a fermata here. Activate it.
So a quick word about fermatas. Why would you want to not activate the fermata? Well, one example might be if you played something with natural rallentando and you want to preserve that, you don't want Sibelius to put another rallentando or another fermata pause on top of it. So you can notate it into the musical notation or the manuscript, but not activate it because you've already played it. You've already done it. That would be one example why.
And I'm going to put a short gap. I may not want the gap at all, but right now I'm just going to leave it as short and listen. A lot of this composition really requires you to listen when you're using the program like this. I don't want the gap at all. I like it to just keep flowing, so let's just get rid of it. If I came here and just highlighted both of these, that I could come here and change this. Let's just see if it does it. Okay, so I hit that. There it is. So if I click on this, it's in the left hand. Okay, so it is in the right hand. You can click them both and do them both. I could come here, activate the fermata, change it, and let's just get rid of them both. There it is. But it's still preserving, all of this information here changes because it's still preserving the live playback, which gives it the feel of like a real performance. All right, listening on. Okay, so this is something else that we're going to have to play around with. See how I did this on purpose as part of the performance, but I want the music to reflect this now. So I got a triplet thing happening with straight time thing happening, and then back to a triplet thing happening, and this is actually notated incorrectly, back to a straight thing happening. So that to me it looks like this should be a measure of 2/4. And then this could be a measure of 2/4, and then this could be a measure of 2/4, and then we might be okay after that. Go to the first keypad, delete that. Go to the change that to a quarter note. Okay, now I want to take these two beats. There's got to be an easier way to tell it what I want it to do, and then we don't need this bar. This can be eliminated. So now that looks more like the way it would be written. You know, as a composer, you want to make your music as neat as possible, as clean as possible, and as straightforward, easy to read as possible. Because you want your music ultimately to be performed as accurate and close to what you've written as you can. And the best way to do that is be kind to your musicians.
The union forces me to allow you to go to lunch in spite of the way you play. Those of you with consciences will not be able to. And those of you whose consciences match your talents, go stuff yourselves, I hope you chop.
All right, listening again. Okay, so this should start on the downbeat, I think, musically, for that to look correct. I'm okay with leaving this broken like that. That I know what it's doing. If I look, see, I got a minus 13. It's doing some crazy things. I could rewrite this part as a triplet, and I might. But what I want to do now is I want to put a fermata on this. I want to simulate this without having this rest here, because I want to take this and move it over. So again, we go to the fourth keypad, put a fermata there, put a fermata there, and we should be able to just take this, both of those, highlight them, come over here to the inspector, activate the fermata, change it from 100, which is a quarter note, to 200, which is a half note, and then we need to put 100 in for this quarter rest, for the gap. If I play it back from here, okay, so but it didn't hang on. So now we have to talk about the third thing over here, and that's these durations. So these durations represent a quarter note, not a half note. Or wait a minute, you know, it might have something to do with the pedaling too that I played. So let's just take a look at the hidden objects. I come up here to the View tab, come over here to Hidden Objects. Yeah, there's a bunch of, it's hard to see them. This is something that I wish Sibelius would address. If you look here, there's two sets of numbers. You have this congruent symbol with C 64, 0. Okay, that is the representation for a pedal off. And this one here, congruent symbol C 64, 127, is the representation for pedal down. And it's either down all the way or off. But if you look here, there's just a ton. Let me just zero in on this. This is just insanity. So this is me in the performance doing a bunch of half pedaling to clean up some of these tones to get to where I want it to sound. I like the way it sounds. If I listen, but I want this to hang on a little more. So somewhere in here, I have to just delete one of these guys. And I don't know that it's these two. And I'm just clicking and dragging them up and down. I'm trying to leave them exactly where they are. I don't want to move them left or right, because that will initiate the pedal on off sooner or later in the musical timeline. I think this is the one that I'm pulling the downs. I'm going to try this one first. I could always undo it. And this is what I mean. Like, I feel like I'm throwing dice.
Eat my own queen, Ray.
There's lots of them.
There's lots of them?
Lots and lots of them.
Hold on here.
At this point, literally, like, you shouldn't have to do this. There should be a better way to manipulate this data.
Yeah!
To me, this would make much more sense if it was just a line and it was like a little bump up where the pedal was down, another bump where you're clearing the pedal off. You know, a lot the way pedals look, like here. See? This would make much more sense, in my opinion, but what do I know? Okay, so it was neither of those. What's happened is I've uncleaned up these. So I'm going to undo that one, put that one back. I'm going to undo the next one. put that one back. I'm going to get rid of this one now and see if this is the culprit. Ah, there it is. Okay, now let me just zoom back out of this so we can see what it is that we're dealing with. I mean, here's another trick that I've done in the past. I have done this in the past. Here, we'll try this first. I know it's unorthodox, but sometimes you just want to get on with composing music and stop with the tech learning curve crap.
Yeah, the phone in the limo is busted. What are you, ignorant?
So if you go line and you put a pedal mark in, let's see if that did what I wanted to do. Because I'm just trying to get it to put a space before it starts this music down here. Play. Yeah, okay, so that did it. But I lost my fermata. So if I just spread that out now, let's see if that does it. Okay, we're better.
There's always a fine line between balancing the way the music looks and how I played it and how it sounds. And sometimes I'm trying to make it look the way I played it.
Okay, but that looks unorthodox, especially when I don't have any pedal markings.
Especially since it's contradictory. I mean, you're looking at a pedal mark and then you see a rest and then you see the pedal lift. Then something's got to give. You can't have both. Although Chopin was famous for doing stuff like that. Here's his pedal lift. Here's his pedal. This is in the famous B flat minor scherzo.
So, all right, you just highlight it and hit Shift Command H and you hide it. There, it's gone.
Yeah!
Now, let's see what it sounds like. I just think that this should be held a little bit longer. Let me just make this 355. Let's make this 355. Try it again. There it is.
How did I play it? I'm listening to the music ultimately, and that's how I want it to look so that someone else could pick the sheet music up and play it. But it's always a little balancing act between live playback and what you're seeing on the screen, trying to balance that to make it look right.
So I'm going to need to re-notate this part of the performance, these 4 measures. No, that's not it. And then this one, and that one ends it. So now you've created the beam, and now we could do the same thing with this. We could come here and highlight these 3. Okay. And then that one ends. This one ends. See, so now we have this group
And this group.
and that's another way that you can notate it. But to me, this looks more confusing too. I don't know. It's just, maybe it's me. Maybe you guys can weigh in on this one as well. Let me undo this. Here's my thought. I'm going to conclude this video. Okay, so my thought in all of this is I would rather see this time signature consistent so that I can just, I know it, I stored it, and now I can just forget about it. And now I can just concentrate on what the rhythm syncopation is. And sometimes having a tool here like this helps you to see, okay, so these are, and if I quickly look, I can see that there's a bass line that's kind of defining where all of these things start, which is what I did when I played this thing. Anyways, that was my idea. That's my thought process. This is how I like to compose music. This was just one little idea that I kind of recorded this morning. What I'll do next is I'll come here, put a double bar line, and then usually I'll try to record 4 or 5 little short sections like this and then develop them. One thing that we didn't do today, and I'm not going to get into in this video, but I'm not just satisfied with this. Once I get this roughed in and I get it sketched and looking proper where it should be, I want to embellish this. And maybe instead of it just doing simple 16ths, I might have it do something like, you know, something like that. And again, that could be for another video, but I just wanted to share this with you. I've been going on a little bit longer than I thought I would be, but anyways, yeah, this is a new year, a new piece. File, save as, 24, yeah, so this is number 25. Number 25, save. There it is. All right, hope you enjoyed this. Talk to you on the next one.